Welcome to the Mediocre to Magnificent podcast. I'm your co-host, Braxton Matson, and your host, Lee A. Williams, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in because you are what makes this pure magnificence. You are the ripple effect of magnificence, and we are going to bring you a message that will give you insight, inspire you, motivate you, and challenge you to not only grow in your magnificence, but let you know that you are magnificent in everything you do. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Man,
Yes, sir.
it's good to see you.
It's good seeing you.
We're here. We finished out the series.
Finish it out.
I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you haven't looked at it, go back. Beliefs to outcomes.
Beliefs to outcome.
There's some nuggets in there for sure.
There is nuggets.
So we are on to the next episodes.
We are.
And like Lee, have you ever like been in a parking lot where you got like you park in and you got the like big trucks right beside you on both sides,
Oh, yeah.
and then you got to get out. Like you got to get out of the parking lot,
Yeah.
but you can't see backing up.
Can't see?
And I know we got backup cameras now and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I get it, but back then we didn't have that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you have to look back, but it's like you can't see nothing. So it's like a blind spot in a way.
Blind spot.
Like you don't know. You're just going out. You're just backing up. And it's like,
Just backing up.
and I remember I like in the kids in the car, I'm like, hey, do y'all see anything? Y'all see
Do
anything?
y'all see anything?
Y'all see anything coming? But that's what we're going to talk about today, I guess. Blind spots.
Yeah.
So what do you think about?
So,
when
but
we have
like, I
blind
mean, you
spots?
did it great. You set it up great as far as the backing out. What? So
Yeah.
what? Like, what if the kids aren't in the car? What? I mean,
Yeah, well, that's the problem. I mean, you're just going out. I'm going out in faith, man.
in faith.
I'm going out in faith.
Yeah.
You know,
But so some of that,
and hopefully somebody honks their horn.
what I immediately went to is the speed in which you're backing out.
Exactly. Because I'll stop.
Like if you
I'll be like,
if you just gun it out,
Oh,
like, there's a
man.
problem. But if you ease your way out
oh yeah, yeah,
until the blind spot is no longer a blind spot, and the speed in which you back out allows the oncoming car to be like, okay, this person's backing out.
mm-hmm.
Now, if they're not paying attention in our society and they're on their phone texting
Oh yeah,
while driving, you didn't have a chance. But
right, yeah,
you could have saw them at the speed.
yeah. Because like that, it happened yesterday.
Oh, this
It
happened.
really, yeah. This is why I brought it up. It's because I was sitting in the car, and Candace was at Home Goods, so like we're redoing our pantry, like the shelving and
You
everything.
redo the
Like, we're doing
pantry. Like, is that a real thing?
Like we're redoing because you know the wire shelf. You know how like the homes now they got the wire shelving and stuff.
Yeah.
You can't put nothing on them things,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
So we redid the shelving. But she was at Home Goods, and I was just sitting in the car,
Yeah.
and this guy was backing out.
Why were you just sitting in the car? I'm just playing.
Oh, because I didn't want to go Home Goods. I was. We had other things like we were doing. So I was like, I'm good because she was only going to be in there for a minute.
Of course. Only a minute.
Only a minute.
I'm just
But
going
he
to run
was
in.
backing up, and then you hear this horn.
At you?
No, at the guy backing up because
the
he
guy
didn't see
backing
the
up.
car
Yeah.
because it was a blind spot.
So the guy that's backing up is honking the horn?
No, the guy that was coming down the parking lot honked the horn. But
At the
thing,
person backing out.
yeah, but the thing is like he was backing out and he could see. So it's like you were saying, like they're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like we don't pay attention, and that's kind of what I feel like the blind spot is it's just not us paying attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So do you think that the guy honking the horn was necessary?
Yeah,
Oh, it was.
because like you said, he was going out.
Oh, he was coming out.
Like he was just coming.
He was committed.
He was committed.
Not even at a good pace. Just shot out like
He was
he
just,
owned the parking lot.
He kept going. Kept moving.
Demolition vehicle. Some people have those, man.
They do. They do. They usually have it in demolition derby. Hopefully not.
They just a few bumps, few scratches. That's all part of it.
Right.
It's all part of the driving
there's some cars.
experience.
There's some cars I see, and I'm like, how do you even drive in that thing?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so basically when you, because I don't want to like avoid the question.
Right.
You asked me, what do I think about blind spots? I think it's something that we all have that you gotta be aware and to give conscious energy to.
yeah,
To be able to say, hey, let me look at this. Even if you have to get a coach to sometimes fill that gap. And maybe you can speak from that perspective to say that coach is playing the role of like, hey, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about that? And it's that bird's eye view or
well, yeah. When I looking
looking at the picture outside the frame.
Because I wanted to see, like, okay, what do people think blind spots are? And really, a lot of that is you are not self-aware. Like, you have this preconceived conception on how things are, but some of that stuff is dictated off the files in your past, like how you act.
Right.
You know, and we don't pay attention to that.
Right.
And that's like where the mentor part comes in, like one of the M's.
Yeah.
Having somebody that is able to help you understand and give you a different perspective is filling in the blind spot to me. That's a big thing. So
that, I mean, what you just said, so, I mean, we might have already said it, but if I say it again, it's intentional. Maybe not, but you get it.
Right.
So blind spots, there's some that you know you have.
Yeah.
And there's some that you know you don't know.
You don't know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So if we, and I'll share one too if we need to. What is one that you have that you like? Hey man, that's a spot for me that I know I could give more energy to.
I'm trying to figure out how I would say it. A lot of times I'm heady, like I'm in my head.
You're in your head.
And it's like, okay, you thinking all these things, but you got to do something. You got to do something.
So that's like, but how would you say that's a blind spot?
Well, because a lot of times I'll, like, multitasking isn't like the greatest thing that I'm good at, or one of the things I'm good at. So I can get focused in on one thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm completely like, oh, crap.
Oh, the other stuff
is
blind.
And it's like,
but that's the heady part. But
that's the heady part. That's part of the
focused.
And, you know, there's other things where it's like asking questions. Like if I don't know something, like I'm trying to figure it out myself when it's like, you can take the path of least resistance if you want to. You just got to ask the questions.
So you're saying in that example, the blind spot is literally like, hey, you have a coach or a mentor or a friend or a family member, your wife, and you just like...
like when we were on the call, the mindset call, it was like, stop being stingy, Braxton.
You like that.
That's kind of what it is. You know, that's one of the blind spots. It's like, you don't have to do that
for everybody. Explain that for everybody.
Like the being stingy part is me not expressing myself. That was the stingy part.
So that's a blind spot that you didn't know, so to speak, from the example of like, the ones that you did know
it was in the past. I think now I've got more realizing it, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without mentors, people around me.
Right.
Coaching me, that kind of stuff. Even with my marriage, like having the marriage that I have, that's been crucial for growth.
Yeah.
You know? But
your wife is going to tell you all your blind spots. I mean, I think that's just
how that
dynamic works.
And that's how
and I wasn't saying
that's
like your wife, because
that's like marriage in general. Like, you're gonna see blind spots. You're gonna get to realize, your wife's my blind spot.
Your wife's the river mirror, the camera, the horn.
They can be, man. But it's a good thing though, because you see the blind spot. Like you can. Now, whether you do something about it, that's another.
Nah, whether you do something
Yeah,
about it.
that's the thing. And that's a big one.
Yeah.
Being able to understand you have the blind spot, but then taking the actions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your blind spots, like, I feel like some of the blind spots are just naturally who you are. And you got to have that somebody, like a wingman or to help you with that.
I was talking to a client yesterday about this. So the thought process is within might not have been yesterday. Our last coaching call, I should say. Because it might not have been yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So don't hold me to the time frame. But the thought process is still relevant. That we were talking about the Navigate the Ocean assessment. And within Navigate the Ocean assessment, it's like, okay, you score high on the DISC assessment within, like, okay, well, you're the stingray and you're the octopus, but you still have the opportunity that your dolphin, even though it might be 22%, 27%, there's circumstances, there's situations, we need that.
That's like with my shark. I got 22%. Like, you got to give it 22%.
Like, we need that. Yeah. Like, there are certain situations, like, we need the shark.
Yeah.
It's not just so if you say, like, some of the words for that, in that category that they explain, that it's like, okay, you could be gregarious as a shark.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also assertive.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you don't rank 100%, 90%, 85%. Like, you're below 50%.
Mm-hmm.
But we still need your 22% of assertiveness. But so that could be a blind spot for people, that they see how they show up or how they don't show up. But then once doing something like the Navigate the Ocean assessment lets you be able to say, hey, so you can have tools. We're talking about a tool that can show you, like, hey, this is just how you naturally and adaptively show up. But you can make the adjustments once you know, like, okay, well, especially if you tie it back to your version.
Yeah,
man, I'm heady. I'm one try. I want to get it handled, solve it. And it's like, well, what about this over here?
Right. What do you think? Do you think people want to face that?
To face the blind spot?
Yeah. Do you feel like there's some people that don't? Like, they just don't want to face it?
I know there's some people that don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I asked you, like, the way the guy was backing out without a care in the world. And I asked you, okay, was the horn necessary?
Yeah.
Because
casualties. I look at it like that.
Like, was the guy really in danger of?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, if you had the time to honk your horn, you had the time to press your brake.
True. And see, that's another layer.
So it's like, what?
Yeah,
and what were we really talking about a casualty of that? There's going to be physical damage. There's going to be an accident. There's going to be a crash of cars in the parking lot. Or are we talking about, and especially if we go back to the series, y'all have to check the series out. Was the horn
necessary? Expressing
emotion.
Ooh, yeah.
So that was the, like, oh, I can't believe you're not paying attention. And it's like,
yeah, and that's how I kind of felt the horn was, because the guy was like trying to get out of the parking lot. It was like it was crowded.
Right.
He's trying to get out of the parking lot, so it's like that's where I felt like it came from the emotion side with the horn.
Right.
But at the same time, the guy's backing out. You don't really know.
And that's the reason why I gave that version, is because we've all backed out and can't see. Now, I'm not saying to the point that this, because we said it from the beginning, not saying the speed in which you back out, but where do we have the compassion to say we've all backed out and couldn't see, and we needed faith to be able to do it.
Right.
And then you got some yahoo honking the horn.
Right.
Like, what if it was that? Remember that RV camping trip you went on? You said, "Man, my back was jagged. I got to go get the adjustment."
Yeah.
So the only reason why I'm saying it like that, you already know where I'm going. What if it's that day? So not only you can't see,
Back's all jacked up.
and you can't even really. You don't have a newer car. You got an old. Let's just really create the scene.
Yeah.
You have an older car. Your back jacked. So the mobility in your neck.
Like you can't look behind you as much.
But you already needed grace, or like you already had to have faith because you can't see.
Right.
So you come on out. The only thing that's the issue is, okay, man, did you have to go from 0 to 60 on the backup?
Yeah.
I have to hit you for that. But everything else is like, you're facing forward, moving. He's backing up. What are you honking your horn for? Let the man out.
Yeah. There's got to be some grace to it, man.
Oh, he should have saw me. Huh? He didn't.
He didn't.
Now you have an accident, blind spot. But how does it tie into what we're talking about is, are you going to have the faith to back out and face the blind spot? And the blind spot in this instance could be,
I like that.
like, hey, I need my wife
to
tell me, like, hey, man, we need to go to Home Goods and get shelves because all the stuff that you want to have in your pantry, these shelves ain't going to hold.
Oh, man. It's looking good, though. It's looking good. I like it.
Yeah.
But the blind spot, yeah, I really, the way you put it as you've got to back out. You got to face the blind spot.
Yeah.
There's no, like.
So even if you say, like, let's look at, like, how, so it's great that we use the back out of the car. So then you say, okay, I'm in this circumstance. And that's why I use the thought process of, like, you got to have the bird's eye view. Or you got to have the viewpoint of the picture outside the picture frame. So in order for you to be able to zoom out to see the bird's eye view or the picture outside the picture frame,
you gotta take yourself out of the picture, man. You gotta
back
Yeah.
out. Like even if you back out with a zoom, like, or eagle eye, like. But in order to do that with the car connection, you can't see.
Can't see.
So you're gonna have to ease your way out. But what do you find? And then what do you do about what you find is what we're talking about. So once you're like, hey, well, I have this, I'm aware of this. Or the ones just like, oh, I never thought of that, I never knew that. Now you got something to do. Do you just be like, sweep it under the rug, like, oh yeah, it's no big deal? Or do you have opportunity where he's like, hey, well, how can I, in your example, not be so heady, not get so one-track mind, so focused that I was like, what about all this other stuff?
Right.
You know? But it's having that perspective and shining light on those spots, man.
It's huge.
That changed it. But because I still think I didn't answer the original question, man. No, really. I would say a blind spot that I have, not that I don't know, is like with the meetups, man, and like networking.
Yeah.
I do it to some level, and I might just be wanting to bring up the recent meetup that we had.
Oh, I loved it.
Is to say, like, we don't have to. We could keep being what we've been being. But I choose to continue doing and have more stuff like that because that's good. And that's a spot that I haven't really given energy to. That's, you could say was blind, but meetups is an M. But not meetup in the thought process of who can I meet, the connections, how does it, like some of the transactional stuff that we said.
Right.
And it's like, nah, just people that you have a relationship with.
Right.
Invite them, go out, do something the proverbial let your hair down, have a good time,
Yeah.
and not. It was just us out having a good time, and that's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
To fill that spot
Right.
is what I would say the original answer.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, I feel like that's one of mine too, in a way. And
He said
I
in
feel
a
like
way.
it helped out a lot as far as my growth and getting like not being stingy.
Quit being stingy, bro.
So it's like just getting involved more, but having the right reason for doing it.
Yeah. So what do
Was
you
a
mean by
big
that?
one.
What do you mean by that?
So it's like kind of like, I mean, we could go back to the series where we've got the parable of the lost son, like the two sons. There's one where you're doing works, but what are you doing the works for?
yeah, don't get you in.
Right. And that's where it's like, what are you doing these things for? And there's a
So where like if you're willing, let's really talk about. So what are you saying? Like if we use the meetup, the top so for everybody, we went to Top Golf.
Oh yeah, I loved it,
Friends,
man.
family, clients, just out having fun, talking trash.
It was that, because we haven't
Heckling each
we
other.
haven't had a lot of the meetup, or I haven't been to a lot of the meetups.
Yeah.
And this was one, and I was actually able to take Gavin with me.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I picked him up from school. I don't know if I told you this.
Nah, you didn't tell me this part.
But he started asking. I was like, he was like, "Oh, are we going to Top Golf?" I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna swing by the house, and we're gonna head out."
Yeah.
And he was asking about what it was. I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna it's like golf. You just you hit the golf club, and you got to get it close to a certain hole." He's like, "What?" He was like, he was a little unsure about it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, do I have to go?" I was like, "Yeah, you gotta go."
He said,
He's
yeah.
like, "Yeah, it'll be fun."
Yeah, it's gonna be
And I
fun.
think what it was is we were at a birthday party, and he wanted to play pool, so they got like
Yeah.
so we were playing pool, but they had a video game, like with the roller ball
Yeah.
for golf.
Oh wow.
I was thinking he probably was thinking that in his head, like it was like a video game thing. He was like, "No, you're actually swinging a golf club."
Oh, I actually swing on the club.
But getting to the main point, going there, the main reason for me was to let Gavin experience like what I do with the M2M.
Yeah.
How you are, because he hasn't interacted with you that much.
Not to that level.
Not to that level.
Right.
And man, I tell you, like he loved it.
look.
Loved, like he was telling me, like, "Are we gonna come back next Tuesday?"
We're going back. Huh?
So it's like, being able to do those things,
Yeah.
to let your hair down. I don't have any, but
You gotta let it down though.
you gotta let it down. Like enjoy it. It's not work all the time.
It's not.
Like you have to enjoy it. And that's what it was for me. Like realizing that was like, go out and have fun, man.
Have fun.
It ain't got to be every week. I mean, you could plan it a month, whatever,
Yeah.
but plan it. Like,
Get out there. Man.
Get out there.
Yeah. So that's
Fellowship.
Yeah. That's and then build the community stronger, create a culture of what you believe and what you stand for. And I know, that's why I said, like, I used that one, I could stretch if I had to stretch for one. Like, well, Lee, tell me about one that you don't know, that's like really blind, that somebody else has to be like, man, what about this?
Yeah.
But to say like, hey man, just don't let it be only one way, man. Because I invited it. I mean,
Yeah, you probably had a whole lot of.
Ahmad is back. The first job I ever had when I was 13, Ahmad worked there with me. And then my second job at the movie theater, Ahmad worked with me there.
Yeah.
So, like, we're talking long time. And to drive the point home for this episode, to prove, even though we don't need to, that it was blind, is this was the first event that I was like, everybody can come.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it like, no, if you got to be in the community, you got to be a
Oh,
client,
yeah, like
you
certain
got to...
category. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But it's like free, like just everybody.
Everybody.
Why not?
You come on. And not to say like, oh, well, he came, like he wouldn't have come. But the thing is, why haven't I invited him sooner?
Mm-hmm.
And then the way it works, if you don't know, he actually had fun. He actually likes, and then he's like, "Well, man, I want to be a part of it.
Be a part of something."
Like, cause he's already, cause different people had their shirts on, people had their hats on, people had. It was like, well, how I get one? I was like, well, we can talk about that.
But yeah, see, and that's part of
like we could talk about like we didn't go into detail.
Right, and that's part of the meetups.
They
that's
are
part
on
of the
website,
networking. That's all that kind of stuff.
It creates a culture of like people want to be a part of stuff, but if you never invite them, if you never expose them, the same way you expose the gap, like I love it, I want to go next week.
Yeah.
So then when the next one comes out, and I'm like, hey, Braxton, we're going.
Yeah, and that's truly
what you gonna do?
That's truly to me what the blind spots are. It's like exposing people to things they don't know. They've never experienced.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. And then
big,
so it's you end up doing people a disservice, I believe, by not exposing them, because the more files they have to work from, the more well-rounded they'll be. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in this instance, the less blind spots they'll have.
Right.
Like, what is it? Like, what are we going to do? Like, that won't be a thing next time.
It's funny. Yeah, it was hilarious. But then when he got there, man, honestly, you couldn't get him out of there if you wanted.
Yeah, man, couldn't get him out of there, man. I'm glad he had a good time.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Everybody enjoyed it.
It was magnificent.
Magnificent. Yeah, so think about it, man. Be honest with yourself about some of your blind spots. Give some attention to it. If there's a place for you to seek a coach, a mentor, definitely do that.
Ask the questions, man.
We're big on mentors. And just check in with yourself about it. Like, are you just blowing the horn because blowing the horn just because something that's within you and your energy and your emotion that's not being expressed.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the guy had to have faith to back out, and he was willing to do it. Was his speed correct? Was he paying attention? We'll never know. But he's going backwards, and you're going forward. And that's what we want to do, is we want to continue to go forward and striving for our magnificence. So what does that look like for you? So this episode is all about challenging you. And we could, like, it's the dead horse, man. We're beating it. We beat it every week. Is it you have a blind spot in your marriage?
Yep.
Do you have a blind spot in your meals? Do you have a blind spot in your movement? Do you have a blind spot in your meditation? We've already talked about, hey, what's your meetup looking like? What's your networking looking like? Are you doing it just for business? Do you actually just have fun, social time, and get out with friends and family? Mm-hmm. Like, is there a blind spot in your messaging? Like, are you honoring your message? Is it coming across authentic? Are you standing in integrity? Or is there a blind spot? Like, go through it. The M's is real. Hey, the fruit that I'm manifesting.
There you go.
Is it fruit? Do people want it? Is it juicy? Is it flavorful? Mm-hmm. Or it's like, I'll pass on that. I don't want none of that. If someone's showing up like that, don't let it be a blind spot.
Nope.
adjust it. So yeah, that's where we're coming from, man.
I feel good about it, man.
Yes, sir. Loved it. Till next time.
This is your co-host here, Braxton Matson, and Lee and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we did making it, but we couldn't do it without you. So please hit that like button, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what topic or subject that you would like us to talk about in your journey from mediocre to magnificent. But most of all, share it. Be the ripple effect of magnificence and know that you are magnificent in everything you do. Till next time.